Hey, so we have information on Xilonen and she's looking to be really good. I was honestly waiting until Monday for the beta update, cause I thought for sure she was gonna get some nerfs, but she didn't, so let's just go on with the video where I'll give a quick summary of her kit and also talk about weapons and artifacts that are good for her. And finally, talk about some teams with my honest thoughts on her and what I expect of her. So, she's a defense scaler that also ascends with defense. Her basic attacks don't matter, so we can skip them. That is, unless you're using her skill. So let's talk about that next. By using her skill, she will enter a stance in which if you normal attack twice, you will be able to trigger an unconditional elemental res decrease of up to 36% at talent level 10 to the opponents that lasts for 15 seconds. It is important to note that she can only make the res decrease other elements other than Geo for 15 seconds if at least 2 party members are either Pyro, Hydro, Cryo, or Electro. And if she doesn't decrease the resistance of other elements, then she will do a bit more damage on her normal and plunge attacks. And the way the elemental res decrease works is that Xilonen will keep track of what elements your party members are, and she will decrease the rest of the enemies based on the elements of your team. As for her burst, after the initial damage, if the team had at least 2 Pyro or Hydro or Cryo or Electro characters, then her burst will begin to heal the active character based on her defense. And if that condition is not met, then her burst will do continuous damage. Now onto weapons. Well, there isn't much to talk about here. Her weapon options are pretty straightforward. You can just use a defense sword, like the new Nathlon craftable, or an ER weapon if you need some more ER or you just want extra particles for your teammates by using Favonius. But I will say that the defense sword, outside of her signature, the Nathlon craftable seems to be by far the best. And as for an ER weapon, Favonius just seems better than the other options as well. Especially when you look at the passives for other ER weapons and realize a lot of them are kinda useless for a support Xilonen, like Fast Rain Desire or Sacrificial Sword. And of course, you can front load Geo particles with Sacrificial, but for most cases Favonius will just be better. And obviously her signature is gonna be her overall best in slot, being able to give the team up to 25.6% damage bonus. And as for artifacts, just use the new Natlan support set. It is by far her best, since she will be able to very easily trigger the 40% damage bonus as long as you can proc Crystallize on the right element. So now we can talk about how good I think she will really be. Well, if she's released in her current state, then she will for sure be considered one of the best characters in Genshin. The amount of buffs she can provide will make her very valuable for basically every account. She will be able to buff quite significantly a lot of characters like Geo DPSs, like for example Navia, characters that require long field time, like for example Sino. And this is due to how long her buffs last. Not only her own res decrease, but also the new artifact set. And also teams that don't really work well with swirling, like some vape teams. Like for example Hutal Double Hydro. Now of course swirling Hydro in a Hutal Double Hydro team is still really good, but it could be a lot better if you could also swirl the Pyro. And with Xilonen, even though she won't be able to give Hutal the buff from the artifact set, she can still reduce the Pyro res of the enemies, which is effectively a VV Pyro swirl, which is already a huge deal. Another character that will benefit a lot from her is Mualani. Even though Mualani is good, she's suffering from the lack of synergistic teammates. Oh, okay, actually never mind, suffering is a strong word. But what I'm trying to say is that her teams can feel rather clunky to use, but Xilonen is looking to be the very first truly synergistic teammate who is going to make using her a lot easier due to her longer buffs and healing. Whereas with a character like KAZUHA, his buffs and debuffs would expire in the middle of Mualani's DPS window. I'm comparing her a lot to KAZUHA if you noticed, so you might be wondering if she will replace KAZUHA. After all, her Res Shred is a lot easier to trigger than KAZUHA's, and she can even heal her teammates, but well, not really. KAZUHA is still gonna be the go-to support if you need grouping. Even though she seems more convenient at buffing and debuffing, the grouping KAZUHA has can more than make up for it, depending on the content you're fighting. But if it is a boss chamber in Abyss for example, then she should have similar performance to KAZUHA. Or in that she could be a bit easier to play, that is, unless you're playing a team that really wants her, like a Mualani team. Then you could see a significant difference in performance. However, one thing I still haven't mentioned that is very important is about using Xilonen with KAZUHA. Unlike using KAZUHA with Sucrose where the buffs don't fully stack since you can't proc PV twice, you can stack Xilonen's and KAZUHA's buffs together, which is huge actually. That's something a lot of characters can take huge advantage of, due to how universal KAZUHA and Xilonen are. So no, KAZUHA isn't getting replaced. Much on the contrary, using KAZUHA with Xilonen is looking to be a very good duo for most characters. So in conclusion, well, I could still talk about a lot of themes that she could affect, like Nuvelet or Arlecchino, but I think you guys have an idea of what she can do. She's a game-changing support, and we can just pray that she won't get nerfed. But being completely honest, I do expect some nerfs because she's looking too good to be true. Oh, and just a bonus, she's also looking pretty good for exploration, especially for climbing. But that's it for this video. Hope it was useful to you and see you in the next one.